I will begin the show. My name is Pete Parker. I'm the Executive Director of Pathways to Aviation. I want to welcome you. I'm doing it remotely, as are many of our guests today. If you're at Fleischmann Planetarium, welcome. Thank you very much for attending the workshop. We host these on a quarterly basis. Our next one will be in November, likely at the Reno Stead Airport. So we're excited to have you here. I'm just going to go through a quick agenda, and then I will turn it over to Joe. So as I mentioned, we are Pathways to Aviation. And since 93% of you have never attended a Pathways to Aviation function, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Pathways to Aviation. We were founded in 2004, and we do two primary things. One is basic aviation education for young people, and the other, which we're experiencing tonight, is more of a career-focused event or program where what we're doing is we're guiding. Tonight we have one middle schooler, we have a bunch of high schoolers and college students towards aviation and aerospace careers. And we do this a number of ways. One way is through these workshops. Another way is through our these quarterly workshops, and then we meet once a month in like office hours. And then we have a career readiness certification program, and that's done through our website. Many of you already signed into it, where you're creating a career profile. You are going through a 3-step process to becoming career ready or certified, where we can actually introduce you to industry leaders like we're doing tonight to network and land great jobs. And as we're kind of navigating through that whole program, we're also introducing you to just the scholarships, so you can pursue a diploma, a certification, a license, a conference, whatever it is that'll help you bolster your readiness to pursue an aviation or aerospace career. We also will help guide you towards colleges, schools like the University of Nevada, Reno, where Fleischmann Planetarium is located. We will actually connect you to those schools. And we do that through our career workbook, which is available, no cost. And in person, we'll introduce you to the admissions office and whomever we need to get you to pursue the trade school, community college, or 4-year university of your choice. So there's a lot we do, but it's in the career readiness realm. We will not teach you how to paint, fly, design, clean, repair an aircraft, but we will help you package all that greatness that you've learned and make you ready to pursue those 3 goals: the scholarship, the college, and the job. Today, we're doing this live from the Fleischmann Planetarium, and we're doing it remotely through Zoom. So we have a few rules. One rule is, if you're on Zoom, we're going to mute you. And if you're called upon to say something, you can unmute and you can participate or ask that question or whatever. If you're in person, Joe's the boss, and he will ask you to remain quiet, turn off your cell phones, things like that. Use the chat if you're on Zoom to ask any questions, interface with others. I strongly encourage you to type in chat. You don't have to put your name if you don't want, but we definitely want to know what school or company you're with, what your career interests might be or are, and if you're already working in the industry, what your current role is. We want to know all these things. I will tell you, we have a number of guests today, and what I want to do is quickly go through our sponsors. Forgive me, there are a few of them, and I just want to list out our sponsors. And they are the Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport. We have a group called the Renegades of Aviation Aficionados. Choose Aerospace is a great organization. Great Basin Aviation is a sponsor. Marta's Camp Foundation is a supporter, financial supporter. Aviation USA. We have ISTAT Foundation, JS Firm, and Armstrong Consultants. And it just so happens that Jacob Peed with Aviation is here with us. And if Jacob, if you want to unmute and share with us for 45 to 60 seconds, what Aviation is all about, we're going to give you the floor.
Hello there, Pete. This is Tom Flavin. I'm with Aviation too. Jacob asked me to say hello and introduce Aviation to everyone. Aviationusa.com is the website and the platform. And we go out to young people, 12 to 22, to feature stories written by and for young people that are inspirational about aviation aerospace journeys. Um, these could be about pilots, it could be A&P mechanics, engineers, or any type of career involved in aviation or aerospace. And we feature these on a quarterly basis. We are going to be at the Reno Air Races, and we're going to be looking for people to share their stories at that event. And we look forward to meeting everybody and answering any questions that you have, either through our website or at the event.
Excellent. Tom, thank you very much.
Thank you, Pete.
All right, another fun thing we're going to do, which we've actually never done before, is we're going to take a quick roll call. So if you hear the name of your school in chat or in person, give a shout out, a cheer, whatever you want to do. So we have representing us today students from Auburn University, Burlington County Institute of Technology, Cal State Long Beach, Canyon High School in Anaheim, California, Davidson Academy, the East Valley Institute of Technology, Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, Inglewood High School in Colorado, Jacksonville University, Ladoke Akintola University of Technology in Nigeria, Long Island University, Manheim Township High School, New Covenant Christian School. There's a big group from North Carolina State University, Parkland College Institute of Aviation, Passaic County Technical Institute, Penn Manor Mardickville Middle School, Purdue University, Rancho High School in Vegas, Rochester Institute of Technology, the King's Academy, the University of Nevada, Reno, University of North Texas, and Warrior Run High School. This is a very impressive list, and we're excited to have you guys all with us. So thank you for joining us. And the last bit of information I want to share is that we lost a good friend this week. And Eric Henry was our board chair for many years. He is the co-creator of this career readiness program. Many of you know him from all these workshops we've done over the past 3 years. And he lost his battle to cancer. And so we're dedicating tonight's workshop to Eric Henry. So with that, Joe, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thanks, Pete. Paul's working here feverishly to get our video set up. So this is going to be pretty exciting tonight. This is something we're doing live from the planetarium. And I'm going to introduce our guest speakers first. And we'll start with Paul.
Okay.
Paul's the chief cook and bottle washer of the planetarium. He does everything here. He's an amazing guy. Second, we have Eric. Eric is from Dassault Aircraft, or do we call it Dassault Maintenance?
Dassault Aircraft Services.
Aircraft Services. And next to him, we have Brandon, also from Dassault. And next to him, we have Michael. Michael is with Aberis Training, which you're going to learn about today. An amazing company based right here in Reno. And next to Michael is Paul, who is one of the owners of Aberis. So the schedule today is we're going to have these fine young men explain how they got interested in aviation. What was their goals? How did they get that spark? So Paul, why don't we start with you? Can you get back in the video?
I'll slip back in. And I'll just take a second. We'll have some time afterwards to talk about NASA's new moon mission, which it's kind of exciting time because August 29th, just around the corner, they should be doing the first launch of the Artemis 1 mission. And that's kind of how I guess I got involved. Was ever since I was a kid, I've loved aerospace, more particular space side of things. And we worked with a program with NASA called the Challenger Center, and now with the Fleischmann Planetarium. And our goal is to get people interested in science, technology, engineering, and math, which is what I got excited about as a young person. Went to school here at UNR, graduated, and now got to work with people of all ages, from kindergarten through college students and community members. And we're still getting to spread the good word about aviation and aerospace. And we're thrilled to be able to be hosting this event. And we look forward to taking everybody to the moon a little bit later through a special program, both online and in the big dome here. And then a little surprise premiere screening of that if people would like to stay for the full version for free afterwards as well. So I'm going to cut my portion short so that we can get to these interesting individuals and find out more about their careers. Unless, Joe, did you have something else?
Paul, before you leave, tell everybody what your role is here. What do you do?
I'm the director of the Fleischmann Planetarium and Science Center.
So you're the boss.
Okay, yeah, I guess so. I'm the star guide. Like you said, I get to clean the toilets and do the programs on weekends, all kinds of fun stuff. And prior to that, I was the lead flight director for the Challenger Center, and we did simulated NASA-based missions to the moon, Mars, and beyond. And we still do those kinds of experiences. And we work with through a Space Act agreement with NASA on some spacecraft simulators, and we're hoping to do more of those kinds of programs. And Joe and I were talking about, he and I both love getting to do training and simulation, and got to go to space camp with adults for teachers. And we had teachers from 41 different states and 27 different countries, and we got to command space missions and shuttle missions. And Joe's the real expert on that when it comes to flying the space shuttle and spacecraft. But we love to touch on all those different areas. So that's kind of my multi-purpose role.
Okay, thanks, Paul.
You bet.
So next up we have Eric from Dassault, and he's going to tell us a little bit about his aviation career, how he got started, and what he does now.
Yeah, thank you. So I got started here in Reno, Nevada. I grew up here. So I went to the Reno Air Races. That was my initial inspiration and kind of introduction into aviation. And then from that point, I decided to do things the hard way. Went into the Marine Corps and was an airframer on CH-46 helicopters, which are the tandem rotor Boeing Vertical helicopter. Now since retired from active service, but did that for 5 years. And upon getting out of the Marine Corps, I went to airframe and power plant school, got my associate's degree in that, and I've worked for Part 145 repair stations and MROs since then. I was lucky enough that Dassault Aircraft Services opened the facility up here in Reno, Nevada in 2009, so I was able to finally get a job out here in 2014 and back in my hometown, and love what I have an opportunity to do out here.
Great. Okay. Brandon, you're next. How did you get involved in aviation?
Thank you. My situation's a little different. I just got into aviation at the age of 37. I graduated high school and I worked retail, and then I worked for Federal Express as a delivery driver for 14 years. And then I just decided I wanted to do something different. So I went to A&P school and I got my A&P. And then when I graduated, I got a job working for Envoy out in Texas on the regional jets. And I started out as a contractor, and then I was hired to be a technician on nights. And the crew chief I worked for wound up getting a job here at Dassault Aircraft Services. And I wound up taking his job as the crew chief on nights. And then a year later, he was like, hey, why don't you come out here? So I sent him my resume, and then I interviewed out here. And I think just a month later, I was hired.
Cool. For those here in the planetarium and on the call, you mentioned A&P. So would you tell us, what does A&P stand for?
That is airframe and power plant. So those are you don't need them both, but yeah, you get certified by the FAA to be an airframe and or power plant mechanic.
Okay.
And those
And
are the ratings.
that is a certification that you have to go to school for.
There's different ways to get that. We have a program, an MST program at Dassault, where I think Eric would know more about it, but they can work for like 18 months for us, but they have to document all their training, and they basically circle around to all the different departments. And at the end of that 18 months, they are able to go take their test to get their airframe license.
Oh, great. Okay, we'll come back and we'll hit on that. I'm sure Eric will expand. Next, how about Michael? How did you get involved? I've known you for a while, so I know your story, but everybody else doesn't.
Well, I actually kind of fell backwards into it. I was 16 when I took, about 17 when I took my first class at Aviation training. It was under previous ownership then by a man named Mike Hoke, and he is a phenomenal person, super awesome but I won't take up too much time about that. He's wonderful though. You guys should, if you ever get the chance to meet him, you should. But I fell backwards into it. I took the first class, which was our phase 1, our basic repair manufacturing course of composite materials, which is your basic carbon fiber, Kevlar, fiberglass, and from there, I found out you can do pretty much anything with composite materials. You can make anything from snowboards to spaceships, and I thought that was fascinating. And I took more classes. After a while, they needed a shop technician, and I filled that role for them.
Good. And how long did that take to go from starting with them to getting the?
Actually, only about 6 months.
Oh,
It was
you're very brave.
well, it's a very small facility, and so we only have about 10, 11 people. So it opened up, and I had already had training and knew the employees, and it was a fit.
great. All right, then last but not least, we have Paul.
To add
And,
on to Michael too, we have week-long classes, so he was able to take quite a few classes and get that different approach, whether it was a manufacturing or engineering class, and speed himself through the process, which is a pretty cool thing. We also have 2 UNR students there this week, taking a week-long phase 1, and so we offer a lot just locally to our students.
Paul, why don't you tell everybody exactly what your company does?
Yeah, well, I fell back into it, as Michael said too. I started off as an Air Force brat. My dad was a navigator. We were overseas, places like Puerto Rico, Guam, during the Vietnam War, and I grew a fascination for airplanes. B-52s were all stationed there when I was 9 years old. So talk about fascinating, and having a dad that's navigating the 135 refueler in midair was really cool. I mean, how you're a kid and you're watching this and just imagining that's your dad that's up there. So it was really cool. So I fell into a career as a Air Force brat. He retired in Sacramento, 20 or up to 20 years, and that was the training facility for navigators. So he finished his career there, and then I grew up there, and then we moved up to Reno. But my wife, Michelle, who has worked there 12 years, is how I fell into it. I had a grocery executive career. I've been with Raley's for 22 years, and then moved around to Whole Foods, and fell back into supporting her as we decided to buy the business after Mike Hope decided in his 70s that he was going to retire finally. And so I fell into it as a executive support and trying to do some of the more financial side, or grants, loans, stuff like that. And it's fascinating. I'm there every day watching this happen, and these basically workshops where guys are hands-on 90% of the time, building things, all the way from, like Michael said, sports equipment, all the way to the aviation, to the aerospace. So it's literally, there's not a day that I don't walk in there and it's just something going on that's exciting, and students from all around the world.
So tell us, it's called Aviation Training.
Correct.
So your main business is training people how to do
To repair
composite repairs.
Well, not just how to repair, but also how to manufacture and how to engineer as well, and to do non-destructive inspection upon it.
Okay, so you're more than just a training facility. So where do people come from to come to your location?
They come from all over. We have people come worldwide. A lot of military people, a lot of people from various airline or other, aerospace industries. We have people from just everywhere coming in.
Some of the bigger names I heard. Dassault comes over, but even the bigger names like Airbus and Boeing, they send their people over.
Yeah, and SpaceX, we've had some students come by recently, which is pretty exciting. Blue Origin, I believe we've had a few students come by. Yeah, a lot of exciting companies.
Great. Okay. Well, Paul, why don't you get back on the hot seat there?
Okay.
Let me ask you guys a few questions about your particular businesses and how the people online or the people here might know a little bit more about you, or how they might look for careers with you. So, Paul, this is kind of a unique thing. You're kind of you're kind of a museum and yet you have hands-on planetarium stuff that some people have never even seen.
Sure.
So what kind of employees, who works here? What is their, how did they get started? What backgrounds do they have?
Well, it is an aeros. I mean, it's a multimedia. So we do presentations, we do shows, we do field trips, we do all kinds of events, and we do astronomy activities as well. So we have people that have an astronomy background. We have people who have, like I said, a multimedia background, sometimes facilities and events, and then we have student employees as well. In fact, it's fun to see student employees now out and about in the larger world, like people like State Historic Preservation Officer, former Ron James, one of the student employees here. It's been around for about 60 years. We have business people who are looking for another half-time business person to help with some of the different events. But a lot of it's educational in focus, and so that's kind of where we're coming from. And people can find out more about the programs obviously online at our website.
So would you be looking for educators mostly?
We do have roles, especially in the summertime, for educators, and we're hoping to be able to expand some of that. And like I said, with business programs. And then we love to partner with community organizations like Pathways and others to create programs, exhibits, experiences, activities, workshops. So yeah, all of the above.
So what is the typical employee that you would hire? Where do they come from? What is their backgrounds?
Well, for us, it's kind of more of the educational side of it. So instead of engineering or manufacturing, we're working with members of the community, science communication, working with kids a lot. And so that's kind of the focus for this particular organization. But we work with the university, which has an aerospace engineering minor and degree that's developing, an astronomy minor. And then there's, of course, the mechanical engineering and other majors here on campus. So, of course, the university is looking for all kinds of different things. And we're trying to help people find those pathways, like Pathways organization, into all these different things, whether it's animation and education or media or aviation or engineering or physics, all of those different things. So
Great.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing that everybody has to be a people person.
Well, I know Pete likes to talk about there's the hard skills, the soft skills, and certainly being able to work with a team and communicate and share.
Right.
Those are all very important.
Okay. All right. You're on the hot seat, Eric. I'm going to ask you some. Can you expand a little bit about Dassault? You mentioned when you were saying what you did and your background, you mentioned MRO. What is that for everybody listening?
So it's a maintenance, repair, and overhaul. So our repair station here is a FAA certified repair station. And what we do is scheduled and unscheduled maintenance on the Falcon product line of business jets, which are manufactured by Dassault Aviation. It's a really great jet. They're really interesting because Dassault actually makes fighter jets as well. And so you end up with a lot of the trickle down fighter jet technology into the business jet airframe. So, the pilots always marvel about how the aircraft perform. And they're just amazing aircraft to work on as a mechanic as well.
Mm-hmm. So what would you say was the type of person that you would be hiring there? Are they all mechanics then, or is there other fields within your company there?
Yeah. So probably the majority that we end up having do have airframe and power plant certificates, but there are, like Brandon had mentioned earlier, there's the MST program, which is maintenance support technician, which is where it's almost like an internship program where we take people that just have an interest in aviation, or they have a background in say like heavy equipment, or they've worked like working on cars or motorcycles, or just have a general mechanical aptitude. And we take them in, and they rotate through all the different shops we have. They'll spend time in working on the airframe side of things, spend time in avionics, go through the metal shop and composites, and then I think do a little short stint in quality assurance. And then by the time, and they document all the training that they're doing as they go through this program. And then at the end of that, they get their sign off from the FAA, and we send them to generally about 2 weeks school just to really get all the fundamentals down for the testing to take their airframe license.
So would that be something that would be more prevalent? Say you had an opening and there was no A&Ps available, which we hear today.
Right.
There's pretty much a shortage of A&Ps. Would you then be looking at having some of these
Absolutely. So we
young people starting that at least that they know how to change a tire on their car? That would be a big plus, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I mean, really any, the training side of things we can teach. We like has already kind of been touched upon a little bit is it's the soft skills that is the passion there. Do they attention to detail, that just kind of the soft skills of being able to work as a team, to communicate well. If you have that, like we can teach the airplane side of
You can
the
teach the wrench,
business.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I imagine you're looking for some people also to be leaders, right? Because you're going to have lead people on the floor, et cetera. So right now, I know that your building is expanding. Does that mean you're going to be hiring?
Yeah, I mean, we've had open positions for a while now, so we are actively recruiting. We still have open positions that we're trying to fill currently.
Okay.
So yes, we're trying to expand and grow our footprint here in Reno.
Okay. Well, Brandon, what advice could you give to anybody on the call or here to prepare themselves? Let's say they're in college now and this sounds exciting. They want to live in Reno if they're not living there now, but they like to get involved with DeSoto. What should they be doing?
Well, I think you should have an interest in aviation and just get out there, go to the different air shows. If you're interested in working for DeSoto, and stop by, set up an appointment, come see what we're all about. Look at the aircraft, because Eric said they really are nice aircraft.
They're the best.
And for the most part, they're fun to work on.
Okay. And what about somebody who doesn't live here? Where other locations do you have similar to the Reno location?
Yes.
So we have a location in St. Louis. We have a location in Little Rock. That's our completion center. So when the aircraft come over from being manufactured in France, they go to Little Rock. It's a huge facility. And then Florida,
Yeah,
Stewart, Florida.
And
Okay.
then we have small little areas in Van Nuys, California, and in Centennial, Colorado.
Okay. So what about the people that they can't really come and see because they live somewhere pretty far away? How do they get in touch with you? Or let's say they really wanted to move to Reno or the Van Nuys. How would they get in touch with that location?
The easiest way is to just go on the DeSoto Aviation website. There's a careers little button on there,
Okay.
and they can go through there and submit their application and information. You can, if you're interested in the Reno area specifically, you can just call our main line and
Okay.
we can go from there.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you guys one more question, and this one's kind of important. And everybody in aviation kind of has heard that the number of applicants is way down because there's more jobs than people who want it. So kind of give us an idea what's the pay scale? I mean, why would somebody say, I'd like to use this as a career?
The pay scale is very competitive for the industry and for across the board for the skilled trades in general. You can make an amazing living doing it. It's I know it's hard to talk actual just like true numbers
Comparatively to other careers, like say if you were a diesel mechanic.
Yeah, it's equivalent or to the high end of probably a diesel mechanic, and plus you're not getting dirty all the time, and and you're working on way more fun things.
Is this a typical 8-hour-a-day job? Is that how you set up? Or
yeah, so in aviation, there's human factors considerations to take into account. So, you know, we don't want to be working people long hours. Generally, what we strive for is like a 40-hour week. There are times that overtime is required, but you know, we really strive to minimize that as best we can. So, you know, we don't want tired, burnt out mechanics that aren't paying attention to.
Well, that means you know, you value the quality of life. So
Absolutely.
that's something
That's-
everybody wants to know when they choose a company to work for.
Your employee really is your most valuable tool at the facility.
Okay. All right, let's move over to Aberys and give a little more detail about somebody who may want to come and work for you. Are they required to take your courses first, or if they already have some working knowledge of composites, maybe they have a little project they work on at home and they've taught themselves? Where are you for what you're looking for in your employees?
Well, for the most part, we build up employees for other people. In-house, we have a few instructors, and though we are looking for instructors, it is typically somebody who's been in the field for a long time, who's gotten their hands dirty on various aircrafts, or somebody who's just spent a fair share in composites, and they know the various, as they said, hard and soft skills. And actually, they say something we say a lot. We can teach you the composite side of things, but an instructor is somebody who's able to train, who's able to lead. That's a strong skill for an Aberys employee. Though, for the type of employees that the field would be looking for, if you've ever been interested in math, if you've ever been interested in science, or if you've ever been interested in getting your hands dirty, all three, you can fit anywhere in composites. There's work to be done in resins if you like science, and there's work to be done in engineering if you're savvy with math. There's stress analysis, composite design. There's so many different areas you can go, and it's really a field for everybody.
So besides the people that are doing the teaching, which are some of your employees, you mentioned there was other phases of your company that you do engineering and stress analysis too.
Yeah.
So where would those students, what would they do to prepare for that kind of job with Aberys?
In terms of prior schooling, I'm not 100% sure if there are any like prerequisites I'd throw out there, because we're very flexible with who we're willing to train. Our instructor, Greg Kress, he's one of the leaders in engineering and composites as a whole, and he tries to standardize a lot of the industry. And what he does very well is he can break the information down on any level, whether you're the sharpest tack in all of math, or if you're a shop guy like myself, he can explain everything to you in a way that makes sense for you. So if you're interested in math, I would say engineering's for you. But if you're into advanced arts and crafts, if you like seeing how things shape out at the end, and you're willing to do with a little bit of trial and error, I'd say manufacturing, repair are both excellent directions for students to go into.
Okay. You mentioned you might have some openings now. What positions are open now, or maybe that you see in the near future, or maybe a year from now?
As Aberys grows and more classes pick up, we would be looking for instructors. We have instructors of all different backgrounds, people who have been in small aircraft, large aircraft, people who have worked with helicopters, rotor blades, military, a wide range of backgrounds, but mostly working with composites. That's the,
Okay.
But again, we can teach that. What we really look for is strong instructing and just being confident and comfortable in front of people.
Well, I guess that's where the soft skills come in again too, right? Because an instructor has to be able to deal with people and interact, without turning people off. So you always want a good personable person to be your instructor.
A friendly, high energy person. Yeah.
Let me add on to, we can put you in a position to be hired rather quickly. So like right now we're doing wind blade instruction. We're about ready to be certified GWO, which is the first company in the United States to get that certification. So they work on wind blades. So these guys climb ropes on offshore, onshore wind structures, repair all kinds of things on that structure, but they travel. They're over in the Netherlands one week, then they're in. So we offer kind of really cool, what I call a segue to a job. Once they finish that 3 or 4 week class or get a certificate, they can get hired on with any of these companies. We also work with these companies hands-on to put people in place, and they're hungry for people right now. So, and that salary, like you were saying, is upper side for starting for sure. And they're looking for people that want excitement, want to travel. We have a facility in Brazil, and we have a co-facility in the Netherlands as well. So we do stuff all over the world, and it's pretty fascinating. But I think the main thing we offer, not only with jobs here in Reno, a few opportunities, but we can put you in a job with just a short or week-long classes. Probably 2 months, you could be almost what I would call certified to go right into the field and get a really good salary.
So Paul, is this the only location in Reno where you do the training, or is that in Brazil and Netherlands?
We do the training also in both areas.
Oh, okay.
So we have an instructor in Brazil and one in the Netherlands, and we used to be in the UK as well, and Georgia. So we've and New York. So we've moved around a little bit to hit the industry a little bit, but this is our home base, and we take most of our students through here. Like I said, week-long courses. We also do on-site, so we go to NASA in Florida. We go to different locations and bring all the materials and actually train at their facilities, so companies can have 10 at once going instead of paying all that traveling and stuff. So we do a lot of stuff in the industry, but it's really exciting. The opportunities in composite right now are just really just taking off like a rocket ship right now.
So do the people in the other countries that have the facility, the Aberystwyth facility, did they all start with you? Did you train everybody and then you sent them to the other countries?
Yep, they've all been through our facility. And
so you're the main facility then?
We are the main facility here in Reno, yes.
1983, we started the company here in Reno. So it's been a little tough during COVID. As traveling and training is one of those areas that was really affected. So we held it together and found some other things to do. We worked on some race car parts and molding for race car drivers, fenders, and just some fun, what I would call like models.
Right.
You know, so if you're that, we are woman majority owned too. And my wife is, like I said, the majority owner, and it's pretty cool what's going on with Aberystwyth. So we invite everybody to also come by. Give a call, make an appointment, come see the facility. It's fascinating, and we will always give tours weekly.
I can vouch for that. I've been to your facility with Mike a few times.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give from Aberystwyth for anybody on the call or anybody here who wants to gear their training, their school to get a job with Aberystwyth?
If you were to be looking for employment with Aberystwyth, I would say that you should spend some time familiarizing yourself with composite materials. You should also try and develop some speaking skills, and there's a term that's escaped my mind. So as you can
Soft
see,
skills?
well, it's not that. There was a. That's okay. We'll move on. Yeah. So I would focus on my speech, which I obviously need to right now, but.
You're doing great.
There's a couple different things you can do to familiarize yourself, but I would say mostly just build your interest in a specific thing, because we like having distinguished instructors. We like that they're different.
Okay, good. Well, we've asked everybody questions. Pete, how about from the peanut gallery? Do we have any questions from the audience?
That's a great question. We have one from, I don't remember his name, about aircraft mechanics. If you want to unmute yourself and ask the question you posted in chat, go for it. And I'll find his name if.
Hi, this is Joe Somer. I had a question. Are mechanics certified in airframe and power plant overwhelmed in work these days?
So yeah, I would say at our facility, we you know, like I said, we've had postings for airframe and power plant mechanics open for a pretty long period of time. It's I wouldn't say we're overwhelmed at work because we've controlled our schedule so that we're not overwhelming the mechanics at work. We schedule the hangar as full as we can to our manpower numbers that we currently have. Industry wide though, yeah, the airframe and power plant mechanics are definitely in very, very high demand. They're a hard commodity to come by right now.
Thanks. Let me see if we have any questions from our live audience. Anybody here have any questions for our panel?
How long does it take to get your AMP? Is it certification?
Yes.
How long does it take?
Okay, so the question is, how long does it take to get an A&P certification? So,
Yeah, so generally the schools are usually about 18 months to 2 years to do. And then like if you do it through like our MSc program, it's roughly about the same. So I would say on average about 2 years to be able to get
Okay.
both certifications.
everybody get that? About 2 years roughly.
Thank you.
So that brings up another question. So the position where you would be training some on the job training, is that a paid position?
It is a paid position.
Okay, with benefits, or is this?
Yep, full benefits.
Wow.
Yep.
Tell them more about that. A paid position. So
Yeah,
do you require a degree, like a college degree?
No degree requirements. All we really require is that you have a passion for aviation and maybe a little bit of mechanical aptitude and
Wow.
good attitude.
Do we live in a great time or what? Okay, Pete, it's to you. Another question.
I don't know if there are any other questions, so we'll see if they pop up in chat, but I have a question. Knowing what you know now, if you were in high school or college, how would you do things differently to get into the aviation today?
Good question.
Well, I can kind of speak to that. So when I was 18 and graduated high school, I was very interested in aviation. And the school I wound up going to when I was 37, I had gone to when I was 18.
Oh.
But my parents made too much money and I couldn't get financial aid, but like a lot of middle class families back in the 80s, we didn't have the money. So that's why I went into retail and then I started working for FedEx. And then when I was 37, I just decided, you know what, I want to do this. So I went back and I still got student loans and all that. But I do wish I had done it when I was 18.
Good. Anybody else have something to add?
I would say I would find a foot into the door at almost any position, and I would learn as much as I can throughout that time working through it. And I'm not saying that's what I would do differently. That's what I've done myself, and for me, it's worked wonders. The first job into aviation for me has also, admittedly, it's a little bit easier that it's a school, but it has just taught me wonders, and I'm learning every day. And everybody says this, it sounds like a cliche when people say that they're honestly doing something different every day and that's what they like about their job. But that is what's genuinely exciting, is no two projects are the same in the composite field. So I would say get your foot in the door and learn as much as you can on the way up.
Well, I can add to that from the pilot side, since I am a pilot. And one of the things that I always tell the people who ask me that question, anybody who wants to be a pilot, is hang out at the airport. Just get to know people. Do whatever you have to be that person that looks like the go-getter. If you have to wash airplanes or sweep the floor, it doesn't matter. Just work for free, and they'll eventually ask you if you want to start working there. You get to know the people who own the planes, and maybe they'll say, hey, come on, let's go. I'll take you for a ride. You washed my plane last weekend, and you get some free flight time. So that's exactly what I would agree. Just get out there and do something in that field. Paul, do you have anything to add?
Well, I think going to it's interesting how many times people change their jobs now. I know on Facebook they talked about, we did this, and it seems like we have lots of lives to live. And it is fun. I love to hear your story about how there's so many different things out there. And if you're pursuing what you like, I loved how you talked about snowboards to spacecraft, that composites kind of incorporate all that. And when we talk to kids about school and the Apollo missions, that everybody knows Neil Armstrong and the astronauts, but not everybody knows the 400,000 people that it took to make those missions possible. And those were meteorologists and food scientists and engineers and pilots and all of these different things. And so I think it's exciting. It's hard to know when you're a kid necessarily what you want to do, but the more science and math classes that you can take and the more curious you are and willing to continue to learn how to learn, you can learn your whole life. And I know we've got friends who are teachers in high school, and now they're certified flight instructors as well. And they're doing different kinds of things. So learning how to learn, learning how to work with people and pursuing your dreams, it's interesting. You don't always know where that's going to take you. As a kid, I wanted to be a starship captain. I guess I kind of am now a little bit.
You were,
But,
I saw that.
Yeah. So just pursue what you like and keep going for it. So.
I think we
Great.
should mention the armed services too as a
Yeah.
good starting point.
Yes.
And that time you put in there is to go in so many directions. And being an Air Force brat, I didn't decide to make that choice, but I really wish I would have, looking back 20 years later, because that base that you get from there can be 4 years, and it can also fund the rest of your training and stuff like that.
Right,
So I
and-
think
and
it's a
the,
great opportunity, and a lot of our students are armed services. We
Yeah.
have tons of, we have 2 Marines in there this week, Army, and we're pretty heavy with the armed services.
Right.
So
You mentioned your career in the Marine Corps, and I know a lot of
Yeah.
people on Pathways Board served in
Right.
various branches.
And
And
it's
still
not
do.
for everybody, but it's really, I
Right.
think, a great option.
But it's a great way to get training also. Free, I might
Yeah.
add.
Yeah.
Well, and the level of responsibility you get at such an early young age is, I think, a very valuable
Mhm.
skill. I mean, what other place can you be where like an 18-year-old is responsible for a multi-million-dollar aircraft?
Right.
Yeah.
Or leading a troop or
Yeah.
whatever it is. Yeah, you really learn how to do things fast in the military.
Right.
Things that you didn't know you could actually do, and they push you until it seems like, oh, this is easy.
Yeah.
Well, not easy, but
Yeah.
I can do it.
And it can lead directly to an aviation career really
Yes.
fast. I think one of the fastest routes myself.
Good. Pete, any more questions? Oh, looks like we may have one.
We
Go
do.
ahead.
We have a couple. So I'm going to put Shronish, I totally chopped up your name, from Wayne, New Jersey on. She's asking about internships.
So, yeah, my question was, like, since I'm a freshman, right, I don't think there are like any job opportunities for me, right? Any open job opportunities. So I was wondering, are there any internship positions so like I can, get into the aviation community somehow?
You answered that already at
Yeah.
so.
At Dassault, it's not so much. It's it's essentially almost like a full-time job. I mean, you're working like 40 hours per week with us while you go through the program and get paid for it. We don't really currently offer anything, like on a more part-time basis,
Like a summer position.
right? It's certainly a good idea and something we could probably look into. But yeah, currently nothing we have like that.
Okay, Paul, you
I
have,
was just going to mention, I know here we do internships every semester with students in different areas, but we also have a number of our employees who did NASA internships. And if you go onto the NASA website, one of our astronomy guys, he did his internship at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, and he got to work with the scientists to help determine what would be good landing sites for the Mars rovers. And he counts that as one of the best experiences of his life, getting to meet these people, work with the team and do that. And it looks nice on the resume, having these
Oh, yeah.
internships and these experiences, these skills, and having worked with NASA. So I would check that out because they have programs across the country, and they're wonderful summer internship programs that you can get involved in. So we have some other students that are looking into those as well. So there are lots of them out there, I think. And you just need to find out what the application process is. And they're looking for interns all the time in lots of different areas. And
Well, Paul, here, did you mention internships? Do you only take people that are enrolled in UNR or outside also?
Mostly for us, it's students who are on campus
Okay.
for this particular facility. But I imagine at most of these other colleges and universities. And one of the things that NASA has that's in every state is the Nevada NASA Space Grant, and there's the Nebraska Space Grant, all these different space grants, and they offer internship possibilities in just about, I think, every state. And that's part of their mandate from the federal government is to do that. And so they offer education outreach opportunities, all kinds of different things. So check into that at the community colleges, at the universities, and the different programs in all these different areas.
Great. Okay, we're ready for the next question.
Yeah, let's not forget that Pathways to Aviation has a job board on the website for everybody to check that out. We are informed of a number of internships every year. So dropping us an email, we might be able to answer some of those questions. And then I have other ideas if you want to know where else to plug in. But we now are going to ship over to Raleigh, North Carolina, and Camila's got a question.
Hello, I wanted to ask the panel if you guys have any examples or a just general type of personal and or portfolio project that you would recommend that would make breaking into the industry more feasible, because I know that like getting your first job in any engineering or really technical industry can be difficult to get into without that type of experience.
Okay, so where does she go to get experience to get hired?
Well, I think it's a good time to get into aviation now. When I started was before a lot of the older technicians and engineers and everybody started retiring. So my first job was kind of where I could get my foot in the door. But I think right now is kind of an exciting time because there is a shortage. Just like we have the MST program. I don't know about other companies, but I'm pretty sure that other companies have to do the same thing. So, I mean, as like having a portfolio, I don't know. But there is, companies do have, options to people get their foot in the door. And like in our situation, it's paid training. It's full benefits. It's just like everybody else that works there, but you're getting paid to do it.
Right.
Yeah, I would say like of the MSTs that we've hired recently, no one's showed up really with any sort of a portfolio or anything like that. But what they did do is when we started asking them about kind of, because we're really looking for like, do they have basic, is there like a basic electrical understanding? Do they have any sort of metalworking skills? And a lot of times we'll ask about hobbies. Like if someone works on cars on the side and I can see that they're super passionate and they can tell me about all the stuff they've done on their car or motorcycle or maybe they've built a robot or something. If you certainly showed up to the interview with examples of stuff, I would be super impressed because that's never happened. But yeah, just I think just being able to explain kind of what skill set you do have and is really the best thing.
It's interesting. A lot of communities are developing maker spaces now, and more projects. I love that you use the term projects. And project-based learning is becoming bigger and bigger in high schools and universities. And I think those kind of experiences often do lead into other things. On our campus, there's a team that participates each year in the Concrete Canoe Challenge, and there's these national challenges. And it sounds impossible, right? But they've done phenomenally well in these challenges. So if you can be part of a team and work with people, like I say, whether it's a hobby or a robot or something like that, that's great experience to put, especially if you get to work with a mentor. And I know we do a lot of promoting working with mentors in different areas. So yeah, great way to get experience.
Okay.
Otherwise,
Anything to add?
I would agree that it is a very exciting time to get into the industry because with very little experience, you can, with no experience, you can get into the industry if you do have the right attitude, like they've been saying. Projects, if you can manage to do some composite projects on your home at home, on your own at home, I think that would be awesome. It's a little hard to do that without certain tools and without having everything I know. So honestly, just showing some interest in it, and that would be a good step too. Just saying, you know, I've done some research on my own on the side. I really like what I've been seeing, and some very interesting projects have come up. I've learned that this is where they've been using carbon fiber or fiberglass in recent years, and just like they've been saying, show interest.
So that brings up a good point. If somebody had some experience with fiberglass, say they've worked on boats or whatever, did some repairs, would that be somebody that would go to the top of the list, be better for you?
Yeah, anybody who has composite experience would go up.
So they don't need the special vacuum forming and all the expensive
Well,
carbon fiber to meet your needs.
you don't have to have all that stuff. We have all the stuff.
Okay.
I would also say that we tend to train a lot of the industry, and you know, if you had that training in advance, that would probably be looked at favorably. But right now, since there's really not a huge pool to select from, they would very likely just send you to us anyhow. So
Good.
I think interest and attitude, like you're showing right now, is huge.
Yes.
Best employees I've ever had on our team has been people who've been positive, enthusiastic, and fun to work with as a team. So.
Right.
if you can screen cap the 30 seconds of you asking us this.
May I ask another question real quick?
Sure, go ahead.
So you're talking about just general interest. So I do a lot of sewing. I have since I was a kid. Would something like that be relevant at all? I know it's not exactly engineering related, but making up a garment and deconstructing it is a form of reverse engineering, in my opinion.
It is design and spacesuits for NASA. That was people designing and sewing those, hand sewing those spacesuits. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. To take it even a step further, I would say that there might be work even closer to that than you think, because carbon fiber is, when it's a dry fiber, there's no resin infusing it, right? So people have to make these rolls of dry fiber. So there are a lot of textile industries there are a lot of textile shops that still produce these rolls. I believe it's CFA. I think they're Composite Fabrics of America. They're a big dry roll producer. And yeah, that's another helpful thing. Weave style is important here to us. So
Awesome.
There's another aspect of someone who can sew. The people from Dassault at their completion center, they do the complete interiors. So you would help design and build and craft the seats and the sidewall panels, and there's a lot of sewing.
Yeah,
If I'm correct, right?
Yeah, so the aircraft are actually, you know, they're manufactured in France, but they're flown over what we call green. So there's no interiors in them. They're just basically just these empty tubes. And so in the Little Rock Completion Center, that's where, you know, there's people that are into like all the woodworking. You know, there's the composite people. And then there's all the upholsterers and people that do all the amazing interiors. I don't know if you've ever had the opportunity to like see the inside of a high-end business jet, but I mean, they're amazing. It would blow you away, like how high quality all
A
the
little
stuff
step
is.
up from Southwest, maybe,
Yeah.
or any of the airlines.
I've only been in a commercial and military aircraft.
Okay.
Well, if you're ever in Reno, Nevada, stop by the show.
Pete, I think we have time for one more question. Does anybody here have another question live?
We have a comment maybe from our Zoom, if he wants to jump on. Tom?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, very impressive group, and my suggestion for everyone is keep networking and keep asking questions, and don't be afraid to network with your professors, with your family, friends, with your communities, and tell them what you want to do, and ask them if they know anybody in the fields that you're looking for. And yes, as far as the interior of a business aircraft, there are interior designers that make those aircraft look like palaces. And there's many things that need to be done in that capacity. So there's a lot of different career paths just for MROs, et cetera. Good luck to everybody. and keep asking questions.
Thanks, Tom. That was great. Hey,
Pete, we've got time for one more, and we have.
okay, then we can move to that video.
Yeah, we got one quick questions here from our audience. Go ahead. Any clearance?
Yeah. Like security.
Oh, security.
Yeah, so.
Yes, no?
Yeah, so for us, you have to be able to obtain an airport badge to work at the Reno Tahoe Airport. Generally, that's like a 10-year history that you have to fill out, and then that goes through the regular kind of background check process. Then of course there's a drug test too, since it is a Department of Transportation regulated position.
Anything at
Nothing
Everest?
to Everest.
Nothing?
No clearance.
Okay.
Come on by and say hi.
Okay, one more question, and we're gonna go on to the video. Yes.
So my name is Marcus, Air Force background, a lot of experience with a bunch of different aircraft, KC-35 and H-47. But I truly believe unmanned aerial aircraft are kind of going to be prevalent in the future more so than they are now. Is your company doing anything to, I guess, prepare for that, or like, are you on board with that? Like, do you have any projects working on that?
So the question was, what about unmanned vehicles? Are anybody from our panel working with UAVs?
So for us, no. We just only work on the current Falcon business jet line of products.
Sure.
I do believe Dassault does have a unmanned aerial vehicle, but I've never seen it.
Okay. I imagine Everest does, because
We have had students
UAVs
come
have-
through who are in that side of things. Our courses in manufacturing and repair, they will cover that as is, because it's about the structure. It's not about the flight mechanisms or pilot or anything. It's about the structure of it. So we get a lot of people coming in for drone work, UAVs.
We anticipate a lot of repair to go that way in the next 10, 15 years, just because of things that will happen out there
the number
and the numbers that are going to arrive. So we are preparing for a lot of that work coming in the near future.
Okay.
And of course, UNR's unmanned drone programs are becoming bigger and bigger, and Nevada is a big facility for a big area for testing
Yes.
of that. And Sierra Nevada Corporation, whose headquarters are based here, has done a lot with that. So it's huge. Yeah.
Well, we are right on time here. I'm afraid we're gonna have to cut the question and answer period down to 0 because.
But they can always email Pete, right, if they have additional questions.
Yes, and we're gonna hand it over to Paul. He's gonna have a show here at the planetarium, which is 7 minutes, Paul. Is that right?
Yeah, so it's exciting, as we mentioned.
Why don't you just take the floor?
Okay. Well, we're going to kind of transition a little bit online. Pete has access to the high definition file, so he can broadcast that, and then we're going to broadcast it in 360 here on the Dome. We're gearing up for a return to the moon, forward to the moon, and NASA's been working on their space launch system now for some time, the most powerful rocket ever designed and built. And if all goes well, on August 29th, Artemis 1 is supposed to launch. And so we have a special program that was produced by NASA, working with the University of Colorado at Boulder. And they've created both a full-length version and a shorter version, which we're going to be doing the quick kind of version online and as an introduction. And then after that, we're actually going to we have now the full-length file. And it's narrated by a person named Carrie Byron, whom some of you might know from Mythbusters or some of the testing shows and things like that. She does a great job, and it covers some of the exciting prospects of what's coming around the corner for us as we go back to the moon to stay for good, to develop science and a variety of different projects, including hopefully telescopes on the far side, things that can help us look at the atmospheres of planets around other stars and get closer to answering that question about life on other worlds. So all kinds of exciting prospects and lots of interesting projects. And some of the projects that are going to be going to the moon were actually created by students as part of the Google Lunar X Prize Challenge, where they were designing rovers to do experiments on the moon and things like that. So all kinds of interesting directions. So we're going to transition a little bit. We're going to switch off of the Zoom call for the live aspect up here, so you guys can watch it and enjoy it as well. And then Pete's going to broadcast that online, and I'll run up to the front and we'll power the dome up and bring the lights off in here. And if there's questions about that, or if you're interested in seeing the full version afterwards, we'd be delighted to premiere that for you today. You'd be the first audience in Nevada to just check that out.
All right, well, I wasn't able to download it, so I'm gonna try to shoot it from YouTube. So I'm
Okay.
gonna set it up right now.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and kind of shift gears just a little bit here and see if we can't bring that up.
I'm gonna do it right now, buddy.
Perfect. And Pete, I'm going to go ahead and just mute that then.
Within a single lifetime, we've progressed from the first space rocket launch to using space technology in our everyday lives. Both governments and private companies have taken up the challenge, launching near-Earth satellites for communication, imaging, and navigation. Low Earth orbit has become another part of the world economy. The International Space Station has been continually inhabited for over 20 years, hosting teams of astronauts who carry out research and trial new robotic technologies. Now we are ready to start a new chapter in the history of human endeavor, to take our first steps towards a permanent off-world presence. Forward to the moon. The moon, our closest neighbor in space, and the perfect training ground for more distant travel. The moon is also an interesting destination in its own right, with ancient geology giving clues to our own planet's history. NASA has sent astronauts here before, but this time it's different. An international effort supported by multiple partnerships with governments and private enterprise, all with a shared vision for the future in space. The NASA program that landed humans on the moon last century was named after the Greek sun god Apollo. NASA after the Greek moon goddess, the twin of Apollo. And the Artemis spacecraft is called Orion. Whoever rides Orion to the moon will have a formidable journey ahead. The moon is 384,000 kilometers, or 240,000 miles from Earth. It will take the Artemis astronauts about 5 days to reach it. Every moment, trusting their lives to the engineers who designed and built Orion's protective systems. Artemis is not an end in itself, but just the first step towards a sustainable future in space. For this reason, NASA is leading development of an orbiting spaceport called the Gateway. The Gateway provides a rendezvous point for landers, cargo, and supplies needed to support landed operations on the lunar surface, and extra living space for visiting astronauts. Constructed by robotic missions in the years leading up to the astronauts' arrival, it will be used by both crewed and robotic spacecraft. At the same time as the Gateway is being prepared, private companies will be landing a series of NASA science instruments and technologies on the moon. Missions include tests of a LiDAR precision navigation system, technology that could help future craft land safely at a moon base. These new commercial landing systems will also deliver any advanced equipment and supplies that the Artemis astronauts require. Robots will be central to one of the most exciting opportunities the moon offers. A radio telescope able to look back to the very beginnings of our universe. Out there we know are faint radio signals from a fraction of a second after the Big Bang, the cosmic microwave background. In addition, hydrogen from the dark ages, before the first stars formed, emit at low radio frequencies. But these are swamped by the constant radio chatter coming from our own planet, as well as by the ionosphere on the Earth's surface. Earth's radio signals spread out through space, but are blocked by the moon's rocky body, creating a radio shadow. As the moon always keeps this same face turned away from Earth, this creates the only place in the solar system that is consistently shielded from our planet's radio pollution. Initial tests will be carried out on the near side and using a small orbiting telescope named Dapper, which will pass through the moon's radio shadow. Here, in the silence, what secrets might we hear whispered from the universe? A large surface telescope called Farside will only be possible when the gateway enables direct human contact with the far side of the moon. Only then can astronauts telerobotically deploy and maintain such a facility. With everything in place, it will be time to start a new chapter in our history. For the Artemis 3 mission to take humans forward to the moon's surface. We are the Artemis generation.
That was pretty impressive. Paul, would you like to field any questions? Bear with us for a moment as we get set back up. Hope you guys enjoyed that broadcast. As we're waiting, if you guys have any questions, just stick them in the chat, and when they come back online, they can answer them. Hey, Paul, you can unmute.
All right, Pete, you successfully completed your mission to the moon. Is that right? Yeah. And oh, let me see.
It was tough. Back.
Okay, it's good to see you again, safe and sound back on Earth.
Yeah.
All right, so I think we've got you back on. We're going to see, I'm not sure if we can connect to the big screen there, but I'll face out this way to our audience if that's okay. And then when it's Tom's turn with the scholarships, maybe we'll have him come on up if that's okay. And all right, so I guess I'd like to see if anybody has some questions about the Artemis mission, since it's just around the corner. It's been long. Oh, here, we'll do this. Is that, all right. Is that okay? Let's see if we can do it this way. All right.
Perfect.
Is that all right? Okay.
Yeah.
We weren't set up to do directors around the world from the Sci-Fi Film Festival recently, but we normally just do everything up on the big dome. So this is kind of an experiment for us, and we're going to get a different camera that face this way next time. But all right, here we are from the Twilight Zone. So any questions about this new mission to the moon? The first women and the next group of men to head to the moon, and they've been in training with NASA for some time. Nicole Mann is one of the astronauts who's been selected for the first round of moon missions. Also the first Native American to head to the moon, which is an exciting prospect. Are there any questions about the Artemis mission that somebody in the audience might have? Yeah.
How many are in the crew that's going up?
Well, the first mission, Artemis 1, is an unmanned mission. So Snoopy will be on board. There's a gravity detector. They use little plush figures to show that there's no gravity or microgravity on board the spacecraft. But this one, they're going to test the systems. Last time they tested the Orion spacecraft and the heat shields and some of the sensing systems. They're actually going to have, for those of you that are fans of 2001: A Space Odyssey and artificial intelligence, Amazon, I think, is sending who do you talk to? Alexa. It's a version of Alexa that they're calling Callista, I think, who is in the Greek mythology one of the friends of Artemis. So she's going to be on board the spacecraft, and they have two Moonikins, they're calling them. If you've worked with Sierra Nevada Corporation, you know that they have like a $50,000 sensor unit that can detect the effects of launch and microgravity on the human body. And NASA's going to have two of these Moonikin type things on board to test the velocity and the G's and the effect on what will be the future astronauts. So there won't be any humans on this particular test launch. And it's a 42-day mission. So that would be a really long mission for people inside that small Orion spacecraft. Good question though. Yeah, Marilee?
Do you want to follow what's going on with it?
Mm-hmm. Everybody's starting to cover it now, which is exciting. CNN is doing a bunch of things, and NASA, on the NASA website in particular, of course, has a lot of stuff. And they're making a huge deal out of it. I mean, Chris Evans, who was Buzz Lightyear, I guess now, and stuff like that, as well as Captain America, he's going to be there for the launch. They've got, I think it's Lady Gaga is going to be doing music things. It's like football halftime kind of thing at launch for this. So if you want to get on the 29th, on Monday the 29th, they're going to start broadcasting from the East Coast. I think it's like at 6 or 6:30 in the morning, and you can tune in and see all these different NASA folks and celebrities and people. It should be really exciting. Now, at any time, of course, weather or something could intervene, and they might have to reschedule the launch, but that's kind of the plan for right now.
Paul, is the launch vehicle recoverable?
Yes, that gumdrop, that physics design of the gumdrop type thing is still a really solid design. It's the one that they used for Apollo, and that spacecraft will re-enter at something like 5,000 degrees, like the surface temperature of the sun, but the heat shield should protect it. In the Orion test stage of that, a number of years back, it came back. Splashdown will occur about 42 days later. So I think it's October 10th, something like that. And the Orion spacecraft will splash down, and they can reuse that. And the goal is that this spacecraft will be able to be used for missions to the moon, and then the bigger step onto Mars. So in our lifetime, I think we're going to see people heading towards Mars. So aviation, aerospace, right? The solid rocket boosters they use are kind of a legacy aspect of like the space shuttle, and those components can be reused. And I think it'd be interesting. I can't remember. I know, of course, SpaceX has pioneered some fantastic stuff when it comes to reusable launch vehicles and launch rockets and landing the rockets and things like that. So that's a good question that we want to direct towards the engineers. But They're going to be reusing a number of different components, I understand, but I don't know if they're going to be reusing all of them. Yeah.
Have to build a new space ship rocket launcher each time they ship one of these things off.
So not the Orion module, not those solid rocket boosters, but I think some of the other components they may have to, and it's a very expensive system. And you were mentioning working with different countries like or companies like Blue Origin, SpaceX, and some of these others. There are now in the private industry, there are a number of different others, and NASA is contracting, of course, with SpaceX and their BF, big something, we won't use the word, they've changed it now anyway. But that rocket is, some of those things are going to be reusable, and they'll be able to launch huge amounts of material to the moon and eventually to Mars, or potentially people in the future as well. So more and more, the trend is towards more and more of these components being able to be reusable. Excellent question. And that's important for us to make it economical and environmentally more responsible as well. Yes. Is there a protective? Yes, so there's a whole timeline, and the plan now is by 2025 to have boots that were made in America, in the United States, back on the moon, and also the Gateway spacecraft. And there's a number of different companies, from Bigelow Aerospace, which is based in Nevada, and Sierra Nevada Corporation has proposed habitat modules that could be used on the moon as well, or on the Gateway. Kind of like we have the International Space Station now orbiting the Earth, they're going to have a space station orbiting the moon that will allow us to kind of be the in-between for that. So those are intermediary stages between now and 2025. But the astronauts, when they put out the last call for astronauts, I think they got over 11,000 applicants, more than they've ever had, but it's exciting, the new class of astronauts, and it's growing. And of course now private space industry, sort of like in aviation, there were a few people that got to go on airplanes at the beginning, and then it became more and more people that were involved in that. But as this continues, of course, it's a new space race. China is working towards, of course, bases on and operations on the moon surface, and they're the first country that actually has operated a mission on the far side where they were in contact with the Earth. But with this equipment, we'd be able to do that and be in constant communication with the far side of the moon as well. So there is a whole planned phases, but leading up to the return of humans and the first women on the moon. I have 2 daughters, so I'm very excited about that prospect. I think it's really neat.
All right, we're gonna do the giveaway for the scholarships.
Yeah, is that okay, Pete? Or
Yeah,
is
unless
question from the audience?
yeah, Nicholas, you're in Lebanon, Pennsylvania. Did he answer your question?
I don't believe so.
Perfect. Go for it.
Okay.
Ask away.
And I may or may not be able to answer. I may have to just say, I don't know. That may be my answer, but go ahead, Nicholas.
Do they plan to expand like a military space force and have bases on the moon to conduct operations?
That's a great question. Other countries, European Space Agency, and of course, China and other nations around the world, as we got to have a speaker here for Pathways a number of years ago, General Taco Gilbert, who pointed out that whoever controls space controls has an influence on Earth, and that's a big, big issue. So that's an interesting question. At this stage, the international treaties do not allow for military operations on the moon, and nobody can own the moon, technically, according to the international treaties. There is one private citizen whom I got to have breakfast with some time back, who is the only individual to own property on the moon. He bought a Russian rover at an auction, and so he owns property on the moon, and as a result, when it comes to international aviation and aerospace law, he has filed a claim to be considered emperor of the moon. I don't think that claim is going to stand up in courts, but it is an interesting question, because honestly, we don't know, will China abide by those international treaties that prohibit military operations on the moon? And based on past track records, I don't know that we can say for sure if they will. And that's a legitimate concern, I think, one that we need to consider. But at this stage, there is not discussions of the United States building a military base on the moon. However, when we had the American Space Shuttle program, you know that the Air Force also had a military shuttle, and they were able to deploy satellites and other pieces of equipment, and that's always a consideration. So the fact that we are developing that's whether it's part of the Air Force or part of the Space Force or one of these other things, it's an incredibly important consideration if we want to be a free and democratic country in the future and be able to have our own satellites in orbit around the Earth and around the moon and these sorts of things. It's something that we as a nation, we need to take seriously. And I think it's important for us, as we're talking today about STEM education, we need to make sure that we as a free nation are still part of the future on the moon and beyond. So it's a really good question, Nicholas. So I don't know that I answered it fully, and I don't know the answers. I'm not privy to a lot of those levels of security considerations for the future, but I appreciate your thinking forward to these things. Excellent.
Thank you. I have another question. Do you plan to put into service like the Endeavour and the other retired space shuttles?
So I can't speak for NASA high levels of NASA headquarters on that, but I don't think there's plans, you know, that those are in, they're part of museums now. But other companies are creating the next generation of space shuttles, including the Dream Chaser is one that's the Sierra Nevada Corporation. Sierra Space is a kind of a different company, and now they've split off from that. But there are those spacecraft that are existing that have allowed America to return to low Earth orbit. And now these the Orion spacecraft, and Lockheed Martin has been involved in that, and we got to meet with some of the engineering leads from that when we were at Space Camp, actually, and they talked a little bit about the Orion spacecraft. Boeing has its own Starliner as well. So America no longer has to rely on Russia, good thing, right, in order to get astronauts to or back from the International Space Station. So there are a variety of different very capable spacecraft. And SpaceX, yeah, is huge. So, I mean, they're so far advanced with so many of those things that that we're still very much in the picture. So there are now a lot more options, and it's a whole new landscape, and the space race is actually pretty exciting to see. And when it comes to composites and manufacturing and all these kinds of things, there are a myriad of opportunities. So we're heading into a future that's very much based on space-related things. Cool. Well, I think we want to give away some scholarship so people can get into all these different myriad things. Did we? And we'll be around. And then we also, I promised to stick around if people want to see the full version of this RMS program. I'm happy to watch that with anybody who'd like to see the 22-minute version of that. And other planetariums around the country and around the world are going to be airing that program as well, including the Clark Planetarium, one of the largest in the country. So, but it was exciting to get to premiere some of that here with you today, I think, as part of our Pathways to Aviation program. So thanks for participating and being part of the crew. Really, we're all passengers, not just passengers on Spaceship Earth, we're all part of the crew of Spaceship Earth. So you're all astronauts.
All right.
You're welcome.
Can you move the camera to Tom and Joe?
Yes. So let me go ahead and let's, do you want to go ahead and have Joe take the seat over here, and we can do it this way, and we can turn it back over here like that. Does that work?
There you go.
Here, Joe, you want to shine that light on yourself? I'm glad to be out of there for a minute.
That's great. Well, the program has come to an end. For some of you, for 3 of you, it's going to be just starting, because Pathways to Aviation is going to give away 3 scholarships tonight to 3 outstanding and worthy students. It took us a long time to figure out who was going to get these scholarships, but I want to introduce the Pathways chairman, Tom. Come on up.
Yeah.
Tom always has the floor when it comes to mentioning what's going on with our scholarships, and then we're going to pass it back to Pete, because Pete has the names. So Tom,
Give him the chair there, the comfy chair.
take the chairs.
Okay, thanks, Joe. Tom Hall here, private pilot, chairman of Pathways to Aviation. I did want to take a moment to thank Pete for putting this program together. Pete. Joe, and I also wanted to introduce to you the members of our board of directors of Pathways. We have Joe as a member, wave. Marilee Mora
Who no
is
one
a
can see.
member of the board. Scott Gordon in the back. And Paul McFarland is, where's Paul? Over here. And myself, and we have some other board members that couldn't come today. So I want to give a round of applause to the board directors that came here today. My job is the most fun job of all. I get to give away money. We've had some donors step up this year, and we have 3 scholarships, $1,000 each. And I'd like to drum roll the names. Here we go. All right, here's one. The first one is a lady, Isabel Lentz from Jacksonville University College or University student. All right, yay, Isabel. Actually, it looks like it's all a female cast so far. Abigail Kepler, North Carolina State University student. Yay. Not to be outdone, we actually have a guy stepping up. University of Nevada, Reno, Michael Chavez. Michael. Michael, stand up. Yeah, say a word.
Yeah, thank you. I don't know what to say.
You can sit down then.
Oh, I do appreciate it. It is an honor. Thank you.
All right, we'll get you a check shortly. We'll need your name and address and phone number. We'll do that. So I was thinking out loud or to myself in the back there, I was sitting next to a very nice lady that was taking notes and writing down everything. But the lady that spoke that likes to sew, I thought you'd have a connection here with sew.
Very good. I
Okay,
get
little
it.
pun.
Okay, Joe, take it away. Pete, thanks a lot. We'll see all you later.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks.
I'm glad he's an attorney and not a comedian. The 3 of you, this is amazing. Michael, you do not need to send me your address because I'm actually reviewing your resume, which brings me to the next. What do we do from here? So winners like Isabel and Abby, I'm going to get your address, send it to me, or send me your resume. And there's one great way to do that, and that's to start going through our certification process. If you're not set up and you can't figure it out, email me. But the best way for you to sharpen your career readiness skills is to go through our process. I guarantee it, it will get you more scholarships and the job that you want. Go through the process. It's completely free of charge. Strong arm your classmates because it works. If you don't go through the process, just send me your address and we will mail you a check. No questions asked, and you're set to go. That's it for this show. Joe, thank you so much for facilitating it. As always, you do an amazing job because I love how you just take the questions and position it the way this show needs to be. So with that, I don't have anything else. All I'm left to do is turn it back to you so you could channel your greatest Eric.
Well, actually, I have something pretty amazing to tell everybody here and on the call. Aberus just stepped up and is offering an amazing scholarship. In addition to what we've already given away tonight. So I'm going to have Paul sit in this seat and explain his offer of a scholarship. First time this has ever happened. So Paul, thank you.
Hello, yeah, Aberus Training would like to offer to those 3 recipients of the scholarship our phase 1 class. If you would like to come, it's a week-long class, 5 days, and we would make up the difference for the class, which is $27.95. So it's a pretty good, you'll get about $1,800 out of that to take the course and learn more about composites and maybe springboard your career into a composite training. But we would like to offer that to all 3 recipients. I know it's a little harder for North Carolina and that, but we get it's only a week-long course and we get people flying out from all over the world. So that's our offer. We would love to see you here in Reno.
Thank you. That was very generous. Pete, I don't think I could top that. So I'm going to have to say a big thank you to all of our team, all of the people who came out today. Our panelist was amazing. Paul, thank you for letting us use the planetarium. The people here in person, thank you for coming out, and everybody on the Zoom call. You spent the last hour and a half with us, and we really appreciate it. Go to the Pathways website and see what we can do for you. And until next time, we are out in 3, 2, 1. Take care.